Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney on this channel. We answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. Pardon me. I have a sticking cough. My home office looks like a bomb went off. I'm packing for a ski trip. Going to be away for a week. We have a question here from YouTube user Philip Morningwood, who asks us, "Hi Vince, in recent mediation prep with my attorney, it was mentioned that the EEOC mediator we have been assigned was one of the nice ones, neither pushy nor aggressive. Any tips on how to approach mediation with that type of mediator?" Okay, so there's a good chance this mediator is using what's called transformative mediation, which is actually a form of mediation that was co-founded by a professor that I used to have, Baruch Bush, who I did not study mediation under, and who I believe gave me the worst grade of the entirety of my law school career. Good professor, good man, tough grader. I remember I met with him and I was like, "That's a pretty low grade compared, trying to hold on to a scholarship here." And he was like, "Well, you shouldn't be so stupid. Obviously, it's not exactly what he said, but it was the gist of what he said. And I appreciate that about him. Although I will say that approach is very different than transformative mediation, which he founded. So what you're describing as transformative mediation, and I think he'd be annoyed to hear me describe it this way, but I've studied, I've worked, I've gone to mediation clinics, I've worked as a mediator. Far prefer being an arbitrator to a mediator, BT dubs. But essentially, you're trying to make everybody feel heard, right? You're like, "Okay, I hear that you're upset, and I hear that, not being spit on in the workplace is important to you, and you don't like it when people call you racial slurs." And it's kind of really stuff they do, right? Like, they do divorces too, and I think he mediates conflicts between nations. "I hear you don't like it when your civilians are bombed with bunker buster bombs. Tell me more about that." It's like their effort is to try to make you feel heard. And that does have value with certain human beings. Those human beings generally are still extraordinarily emotional about what they experienced. And part of what transformative mediation, I think, seeks to do, and this is just my opinion, is it seeks to kind of let some of the venom out of what happened, right? If you have a snake bite, the old-timey cowboys, and I don't know if they still do this, they would cut the snake bite and try to squeeze it to get the blood out, to get the venom out. I don't know if that's a real thing, but that's what they do on Westerns. And that's kind of how I view transformative mediation. I'm trying to get the venom out, trying to make the sides feel heard. Here's the problem with that. It does kind of presuppose that both sides are dumb as fuck. Right? First off, the employer, no one involved in the bad things is going to be there. They're going to have attorneys there. They might have an adjuster from the insurance company there if insurance is playing a role, which often it doesn't in our field. And they might have a principal who's got authority to settle the case. But probably the owners of the company, generally speaking, for most companies of size, they're not going to be there. They got more things to do, right? They got other things to do. The bad people who did the bad things, they're not going to be there. There's no reason why they would be. They're just going to upset the plaintiff. And so you're just going to have people who don't feel some kind of way, to steal a phrase, about these events involved. So making them feel heard, useless. Then, plaintiffs, have I had clients where transformative mediation helped them? Yeah, of course. And I'm not saying you're stupid if transformative mediation helps you. If feeling heard helps you get to a place where you can let the case go for a settlement that meets your needs, then fine. That's good. You've been helped. But most of the time when you're going to mediation, you've been wrestling with this case for months, if not longer. And probably you've been in treatment with a therapist, a mental health professional of some kind. You've talked to your support structure, your family, your friends, whoever it is, your attorneys about the case. You've really been wrestling with this case for a long time. it is probably not the case any longer, if it was ever, that all we really need to do is let the venom out of this wound. Probably not, right? So, and different people are different, right? Different people are different. And I listen, somebody's going to be like, oh, Vince is being toxically masculine and he thinks this is not a useful process, making people feel heard. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you've already been heard. Other people have heard you, and the people who did the bad things are not going to be there to hear you. So having other random people hear from you about these events, probably not that meaningful. That's what I'm saying specifically. It's not about the idea that talking about your problems is not useful. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you've done that. And having randos hear you, again, might not have that much value. So there's a good chance, Philip, that this is a transformative mediator. And I don't know that. And also, listen, you can just be nice and not pushy and not be transformative in terms of being a mediator. That's certainly possible. But generally, folks who are not pushy or aggressive in mediation, they're gonna come from the transformative mediation school of thought, or at least be influenced by it. So, Philip, I guess my thought is, when dealing with a transformative mediator, there's a really good chance the attorneys are going to ask the mediator to go sit in the corner. Or they're going to use the mediator as a go-between, like a gopher. Like, the mediator's not necessarily going to do a lot of the heavy lifting in that scenario. The attorneys will, and the attorneys are going to be eagerly trying to get to yes, is what they call it, right? Cut a deal where, frankly, no one's happy. The most successful mediations, everybody leaves a little pissed, which seems crazy, right? You're like, why would the plaintiff leave pissed? Why would they settle the case if they're not happy? Because they understand risk. And they understand, like, I could try this case, but I'm going to have to wait years to risk everything to hopefully win more than I could have today. There's a tension there, and we talk about that tension on this channel a lot, right? And by the same token, why would the employer pay more than they want to pay? Well, because they know they could lose big, and they could pay mountains of legal fees, or they could settle with you now on a number that makes them unhappy today, but does put this all to bed, and they're done with it, right? So there's everyone involved is going to have some motivation to make a deal that's not their ideal. A deal that's not their ideal, right? And sometimes you get there and sometimes you don't. That's what mediation is. But with the transformative mediator in this field, and Philip, you're a pretty sophisticated fella, right? When the mediator's like, just tell me what's important to you. I would like to make you feel heard. I suspect, Philip, that you're going to be like, just what? Go get me a response to my demand. And that's immediately the mediator becomes a gopher, right? Now, by the same token, you know, I'm talking a lot of shit about transformative mediation here, and some might be like, oh, you're shitting on this professor's creation because he gave you a bad grade. I am very petty, so it's not. I'm not above that. I don't think I am, but I'm a petty human being. It's possible. But I will say, for transformative mediation, it works incredibly in matrimonial matters, divorce matters. I've talked to a lot of people who are like, yeah, always transformative mediator when you're doing divorce, because there's a lot of emotion, and it's very raw, and you are in the room with the person who did the bad things to you, the spouse you're divorcing, right? Like, that's a different vibe. I've also heard transformative mediation can be really, really important in union negotiations. I've heard good things about that. So, you know, I'm not even saying it has no place in this field as a whole, labor and employment. I'm just saying, generally speaking, I'm a little bit dismissive of it in the realm of workplace discrimination and workplace sexual harassment. I'm not sure the average victim of sexual harassment needs to be told that what happened to she or he was bad. They know. They're well aware. They've been validated by every decent human being, right? Like, that's generally not an issue. So yeah, you might just listen. You might end up with a gopher instead of a mediator, and that's fine. That happens. Anyways, I hope this helps, Philip. I'm not sure if I really gave you anything to work with here, but at least you got some information. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not a transformative mediator. Maybe it's just one who has some influence from the transformative school of mediation. Who knows? Either way, I wish you great success at your mediation. If this was helpful, like, subscribe, and comment down below. Take care, Philip.